Good afternoon, student. Welcome to our history class. I'll be discussing in the same chapter. Chapter 2, page 32, Emergence of the Colonial Economy. And today I'll be discussing this topic. Today's first topic is development of modern industries. Development of modern industries. Another important impact of the British rule was the development of modern industries. The British entrepreneur made full use of cheap labor, supply and raw materials of India for building up jute and cotton mills. The British entrepreneur made full use of cheap labor, supply and raw material for building of jute and cotton mills. They made industries independent on agriculture. The British entrepreneur made industries dependent on agriculture product. They concentrate mostly on agriculture industries like cotton trades, cotton textile, jute products, sugar, tea, and others. The British own industries, in spite of its colonial character, helped industrialization in India. The first jute mill of India was founded in Risra near Calcutta in 1855. Gradually a number of jute mills were built on both sides of River Hooghly in Bengal. India occupies a special position in jute in world jute trade due to growth of this mill. Foreign capital was also invested in the growth of tea, coal and iron industry. The Parsi community of Western India took the lead in setting of cotton mills. Sir Kawasji Jahangir opened the first cotton mill in Bombay in 1850. After that, nearly 150 cotton mills were built up in Bombay and Gujarat. The expansion of railways increased demand for coal, and thus coal industries also developed and expanded. Even after the expansion of railway increased demand for coal, and thus coal industries also expanded. The tea industries also after the expansion of railway, the tea industries also flourished side by side. The British tea planter took an important role for the expansion of tea industries in Bengal and Assam. The next subtopic is, why did the East India Company and the other British merchants fail to start industries in Western India? Why the East India Company and other British merchants failed to start industries in Western India? Let's see the reason behind this. The European capitalists, however, failed to make much headway in Western India, as there was a stiff resistance by the Parsi community, Gujarati and the other capitalists prevented their monopoly. There were a number of reasons for behind this. As the Parsi community of India had acquired vast capital by their trade with China and East Asia, which they had invested in industries. The second point is due to political predominance. Predominance means supremacy. The supremacy of Maratha in Western India, the British merchant failed to penetrate in Western market. Because of the supremacy of Maratha, the British could not increase their supply in the Western market. Competitively, Bengal was open to East India Company and the free merchant of England. The third is the native state of India, which existed after the fall of Marathas in 1818, restricted entry of foreign goods, merchant and foreign entrepreneurs there. Fourth point is, before the building of railway in this region, there was suitable transport between Bombay and interior parts of the country. The fifth point is, there was no cheap supply of raw materials like tea, jute, coal in Western India, which the British could capture as they had done in Eastern India. In the Western India, there was no supply of tea, jute and coal, so the British could not capture as they had done in Eastern India. The Western Indian entrepreneur imported machine from England and started large number of cotton textile mills in Maharashtra and Gujarat on supply of cotton from the central and South India. The last point is, after the Swadeshi movement in 1905, the Indian mill owner of Bombay and Ahmedabad started to produce fine quality textile and yarn. When the British tried to when the British government tried to restrict them, many mill owners joined the national movement against the colonial British government. The next topic is economic impact of the growth of modern industries. The economic impact of the growth of the modern industries, point number one, the growth of industries has greatly influenced the Indian society and economy. The growth of industries has greatly influenced the Indian society and its economy. Previously, the Indian society was divided into landlords and peasants. After the introduction of different land revenue system, in a new group has emerged in the society with the development of new industries. There they grew two classes like the capitalist class and the working class. Point number two, with the growth of industries, there developed new towns and industry centers. With the growth of new industries, there developed new towns and new industrial industries. Urban expansion increased. With the increase of urban expansion, the population also increased. On the other hand, the jobless people of villages gradually gather around the urban centers for employment as labor and other associated works. Third point is gradual urbanization and influx of rural people. The gradual urbanization and influx means arrival of large number of rural people in the industrial areas created problem in sanitization, housing and water supply. With the coming of people, there was a problem in sanitization, housing and water supply. Even the slum areas gradually developed around the industrial areas. Fourth point is industrialization increased the drain of wealth from India. The Indian cottage industries ruined and our country now became a big market of finished product of British industries. Industrialization increased the drain of wealth of India. The cottage industries ruined and our India now became a big market of finished goods of British industries. The industrialization had ruined industrialization ruined this Indian handicrafts and led to India into a poverty. The building of railways added to Indian miseries in other way. Even the building and introduction of railways added to Indian miseries in another way. Land was request from the peasants at a low rate of compensation for railway construction. Even the peasants were requesting for a low rate for compensation of railway construction. Government also neglected spending on irrigation. On top of that, government also neglected spending on irrigation. The fifth point is the great Indian national leader Dadabhai Naoroji exposed the nature of British exploitation and cause of Indian poverty in his book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Ramesh Chandra Dutt wrote his economic history of India, in which he had exposed the fact of Indian poverty due to British economic exploitation and industrial policy. Both Dadabhai Naoroji and Ramesh Chandra Dutt wrote on their books how this British policy ruined the economic of India and industrial policy. Another important effect was the frequent outbreak of famines in different parts of the country. Those who were employed in the factories or workers or other were poorly paid and they could not make out their living. Another important effect was the frequent outbreak of famines in different parts of the country. As there was a frequent outbreaks of famines during that time, those who were employed in the factories or workers where they were poorly paid and they could hardly make out their living. The new result was the outbreak of famines, which took heavy toll of life of the poor. The new result was the famine broke out and which took a heavy toll. many people or heavy toll of life of the poor Indians. William Hunter, James Mills, and others severely criticized and condemned British economic policy. Even not only the Indian nationalist leader, this William Hunter, James Mill, and others severely criticized and condemned the British economic policy in India. In the next class, I'm going to explain colonial forest policies impact on social communities. That's all for today. Thank you.